Why is she speaking like she's the president? Where's Joe? Shouldn't Joe be talking about this? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Modern Renaissance Man. I am Ty Smith. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your evening or your day, depending on what side of the pond you want to view my content. Make sure you follow me on all the platforms you see above and the ones you see below, all right? And also, I know y'all gonna hear me constantly say this. I just have to do it because you guys are really doing your jobs. Not your job, but y'all doing a good job, rather, helping the channel out by clicking that right there. So I really appreciate you guys for all doing it. And also, make sure that you still are subscribed to the channel because there's a good chance that you've been unsubscribed since watching my content because they don't like voices like mine putting information out there and they will heavily suppress it. So it's up to you guys for this video to get out there. So I appreciate it. All right. Got to talk about this because all of a sudden y'all notice that ever since like President Joe Biden has been kind of under the weather, COVID-19, he came out and spoke the other day, which that was like barely 20 minutes. Then he disappeared again. And now Kamala Harris is stepping up to the plate. You know, the czar, the border, you know. Yeah, y'all do know about that, right? You remember how she was the czar of the border? She visited the border, but then she didn't visit the border, got caught up in her lie. You know that czar? Anyway, I'm going to get on that a little bit. I'm going to show y'all something. But anyway, she's coming out and she's speaking about the war that's going on at the Gaza Strip. And I'm going to have some questions after this is all done. No, I have some questions. So before I even get to those questions, check this out.
Here is Vice President Kamala Harris.
So I just had a frank and constructive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I told him that I will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militias such as Hamas and Hezbollah. From when I was a young girl, collecting funds to plant trees for Israel, to my time in the United States Senate and now at the White House, I have had an unwavering commitment to the existence of the State of Israel, to its security, and to the people of Israel. I've said it many times, but it bears repeating. Israel has a right to defend itself, and how it does so matters. Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization. On October 7, Hamas triggered this war when it massacred 1,200 innocent people, including 44 Americans. Hamas has committed horrific acts of sexual violence and took 250 hostages. There are American citizens who remain captive in Gaza. Sagi Deko Hen, Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, Idan Alexander, Keith Siegel, Omer Nutra, and the remains of American citizens Judy Weinstein, Gad Haggai, and Itai Hen are still being held in Gaza. I have met with the families of these American hostages multiple times now, and I've told them each time they are not alone, and I stand with them. And President Biden and I are working every day to bring them home. I also expressed with the Prime Minister my serious concern about the scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the death of far too many innocent civilians. And I made clear my serious concern about the dire humanitarian situation there, with over 2 million people facing high levels of food insecurity, and 500,000 people facing catastrophic levels of acute food insecurity. What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. The images of dead children and desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety, sometimes displaced for the second, third, or fourth time. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent. Thanks to the leadership of our President, Joe Biden, there is a deal on the table for a ceasefire and a hostage deal. And it is important that we recall what the deal involves. The first phase of the deal would bring about a full ceasefire, including a withdrawal of the Israeli military from population centers in Gaza. In the second phase, the Israeli military would withdraw from Gaza entirely, and it would lead to a permanent end to the hostilities. It is time for this war to end, and end in a way where Israel is secure, all the hostages are released, the suffering of Palestinians in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can exercise their right to freedom, dignity, and self-determination. There has been hopeful movement in the talks to secure an agreement on this deal. And as I just told Prime Minister Netanyahu, it is time to get this deal done. So to everyone who has been calling for a ceasefire, and to everyone who yearns for peace, I see you and I hear you. Let's get the deal done so we can get a ceasefire to end the war. Let's bring the hostages home, and let's provide much-needed relief to the Palestinian people. And ultimately, I remain committed to a path forward that can lead to a two-state solution. And I know right now it is hard to conceive of that prospect, but a two-state solution is the only path that ensures Israel remains a secure Jewish and democratic state, and one that ensures Palestinians can finally realize the freedom, security, and prosperity that they rightly deserve. And I will close with this then. It is important for the American people to remember the war in Gaza is not a binary issue. However, too often the conversation is binary, when the reality is anything but. So I ask my fellow Americans to help encourage efforts to acknowledge the complexity, the nuance, and the history of the region. Let us all condemn terrorism and violence. Let us all do what we can to prevent the suffering of innocent civilians, and let us condemn anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate of any kind. And let us work to unite our country. I thank you.
Madam Vice President, after
Yeah, so you heard all that, right? Now, I got a few questions for those people out there that are super pro-Palestinian. What are y'all going to do? She said Israel has a right to protect themselves. Woo, that should have flamed y'all up. Y'all should be ready to just woo, what y'all gonna do about that, pro-Palestinians? Are y'all getting ready to go down there at the White House? Are y'all gonna go down there at the front? Y'all gonna go to D.C., stand out there? How dare she support Israel, huh? How dare she do that? And another thing, too, for some of you guys that do want to protest and have been shutting down highways and all that stuff like that, why are a lot of you guys having a hard time condemning what Hamas has done? Nobody want to see anybody die. War is going to be war. And I gave y'all my take on that a while ago, and I told you, the fact that Israel is responding to what happened to them, y'all can't get upset that a hospital maybe have been attacked, that some kids are losing their lives. That's terrible. That's all war, though. Honestly, when it comes to war, there really aren't any rules. Well, they shouldn't be killing kids and women. That's war, baby. I hate to say it that way, but who gonna tell you? I'm just telling y'all plain. That's war. Anyway, I'm just wondering how many people are going to come at Kamala Harris about this whole ordeal and come at Joe Biden about this whole ordeal. I wonder if they still going to do their thing at the DNC. You know, that's going to be up here. It's about to be up here in Chi-Town. Woo! This is going to be interesting. This is going to be very interesting. They already asking for extra help in Chi-Town, man. But anyway, so it's just amazing, though, because now all of a sudden, a switch seemed to have gone off. All of a sudden, she seemed to be a little bit more concerned, and this is what we're going to do. Joe and I are working really hard to get everyone home, and we're going to bring them home. Y'all see that neck of hers? We're going to bring them home. No. What about here? I'm sorry, y'all. I know y'all can get all upset. I get that Netanyahu was here and he dropped some bombs and all that. I get that, but I still am a person that I'm more concerned about what's going on here than I am anywhere else. I get that if we got hostages over there, I get it. But the fact that we got a border that's all these folks poured into, now they want to say it's down. We got the border, we got it down. It's down by 55%, as if that's some type of thing to be happy and be like it's accomplished when you the one that did it. What does it look like me letting all these people into my home and then I'm about to brag about how I got 55% of them out of my home? It's down. All the people that were coming in, the millions, now I got it down to 500,000 that's coming into my home illegally. I did a good job. BS. Remember she's supposed to be the czar? Y'all don't remember that when they was calling her that? And all of a sudden now all news networks are trying to say she wasn't the czar. Check this out.
So yes, we are going to debunk the false characterization of the vice president. She was not a border czar, and it's not just us. Independent fact checkers have said the same thing, that did not exist, and that is not true.
"Quote unquote border czar." Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
She was never actually border czar.
Border czar, which was not something that was formally conveyed upon her.
She's been labeled incorrectly by some members of the right as the border czar. Republicans named her the border czar.
Republicans have always exaggerated what her job was at the border.
Republicans, again, have labeled her the border czar.
But that's not exactly what President Biden asked her to do.
She was never put in charge of the border.
That wasn't actually her task.
Not to secure it, but to address the underlying roots of migration.
She was charged with leading the administration's efforts to address the root causes of migration.
The root causes of migration to the U.S.
The root causes.
Root causes.
Root causes.
The root causes.
Root causes
of immigration.
We also want to point out that right now apprehension numbers continue to decrease in our country, especially over the last few months.
And I just want to note that border crossings have been going down.
And illegal border crossings are lower right now.
Migrant crossings continue to drop.
Border crossings are way down.
Border crossings are down.
Okay, that didn't happen. Okay, she was not in charge of the border. Even though we do have proof and evidence in the form of news articles, the mainstream liberal media, White House documentation. We have all the evidence that, yes, Kamala was, in fact, in charge of.
Democrats on Capitol Hill are being handed this card with talking points about the vice president and the border. Do you know who's handing this out?
I have no idea. You probably should ask her campaign.
So the first one says Vice President Harris was never appointed border czar. There's never been such a position. It doesn't exist. Why are Democrats so sensitive about the vice president and the border?
Why are Republicans so sensitive about actually not owning up to them getting in the way of a border deal? Why? Why won't they own up to that? Why won't they own up to the last president told them not to move forward? It was a bipartisan deal on just right there, available to them, and they voted twice against it. Twice against it. Why are they so sensitive to moving forward and actually dealing on an issue that majority of Americans care about, is dealing with what's going on at the border?
Do you think that the border would be less of a talking point now if there was less migration to the border, say if somebody had addressed root causes of migration sooner?
Wait, hold on a second. Did you not hear the beginning of I know there were a lot of toppers, but one of the toppers, I talked about what we're seeing at the border. It's down by 55%, not because of Republicans in Congress and what they did. It's because of what this president and this vice president did. He moved forward and took actions to deal with what's going on at the border.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point,
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
Yeah, y'all see what I'm saying? This is why the news can't be trusted at all. The same news networks like CNN, MSNBC, who was literally having their journalists and anchors, and were all saying that she was the border czar. Now they're saying she wasn't the border czar. We don't know where it came from. Why Republicans make that up? Y'all were saying it. And some of y'all that are super crazy left-leaning, y'all, what are y'all gonna say about this? The camera doesn't lie. Well, that doesn't mean that. Yes, you do. They ate it up. Now all of a sudden, Karine Jean-Pierre wants to defend it too. She never was that, but y'all never stopped anybody from calling her that when she was doing that, when she was supposedly the border czar. Then she got caught up in a lie. I never visited Europe either. I mean, what's going on with these questions? I mean, I'm Kamala Harris, and I'm the vice president. No, let me stop. Anyway, y'all see what I'm saying? Just a whole lot of flip-flop and wishy-washy. And this is why it stands true today. If it wasn't for President Trump during this time, when he came out and started saying, fake news, you're fake news. Look at the cameras back there. They're all fake news. They're all fake. Everybody, what the heck is fake news? This man lost his mind. And now we got to see it. He called it out, and we seeing it on a daily basis, and y'all just saw it right in front of your face. Plain and simple. Anyway, y'all, let me know what y'all think about this. Let me know what y'all think about President Biden being out right now, Kamala Harris stepping up, and all of a sudden she seemed to be the one speaking for him, being his voice piece. If President Biden is unable to do his job, they might as well go ahead and boot him out. And you know that's what they're probably trying to do anyway. They're trying to boot him out so Kamala Harris can step up and actually take things a dangerous path from what a lot of people are predicting. At the same time, he's like, I'm going to hang it. I'm going to finish the job. I'm going to finish the job. The idea that you think that I would even get out, I'm going to do it, and I'm healthy. I ice cream, and we got Medicare. Anyway, he dies, she gets in. I think that's what they're waiting on. So don't be surprised. I'm still kind of lingering on this thing that President Biden got something going on to where, y'all, he fell ill. It took a turn for the worse. I'm just saying. I don't want it to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, y'all, let me know what y'all think about all this right here by leaving it in the comments below. After this video, don't forget to click that like button before you get out of here if you haven't done so already. Really appreciate you for it, all right? I am Ty Smith, I'm out of Renaissance Man, and I hope and pray that every last one of you have food, shelter, and clothing, and most of all, I pray every last one of you guys are in great health mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. God bless you all through Jesus.